Now I want to go back to Don't Look Up. And this was one of the most widely viewed movies in Netflix history. What were you and Adam surprised by this, the outpouring, and how many people really watched this movie and enjoyed it? And can you tell us something something that happened on the inside in terms of thinking about why this movie and why using climate chaos?
Look, I think that I think it got such a response because we actually pointed out a reality that people know that they live in, and that doesn't get explicitly stated. The reality is that we live in a world where facts are surfaced, and they are put into a media machine that wants to distract from those facts at best, or to suppress those facts. And we are talking past each other. We're not even really talking about the issue at hand. I mean, if you think of the comet as a metaphor for climate change, we are not talking about and focusing on the climate crisis on a day-to-day basis in the way that we should if it was a comet headed towards Earth. And effectively, climate change, in metaphorically speaking, is that comet headed towards Earth. So I think a lot of people responded to it because they felt like we had articulated something, said something that we all implicitly know to be true, but very often is not just said out loud. It's kind of cathartic. Now, you mentioned the end of the movie. I mean, there was a whole debate internally. Should we keep the end of the movie the way it is? Should we actually follow through and show the consequences of what happens when we distract ourselves, entertain ourselves, and culture war ourselves to death? And we went through with it. And I think it was important to do that, as opposed to giving it kind of a Hollywood ending, a happy ending. I think it was important to do that to underscore that these really are the stakes. These really, really are the stakes of what's going on.
Yeah, no, you did just that. As I said, that ending gives me chills, even though I watched the movie several times, losing count here. That ending shakes me up each and every time because it is real. Those consequences are real, and you guys did not sugarcoat that, and I'm so glad that you did not. But then you put a little nice little twist to that at the end with the purse and the social media thing to kind of lighten it up a little bit. After the movie was totally over by then, but that little tease at the end. But I'm hoping that people, again, if you have not watched Don't Look Up, you have to watch this movie. It is very telling. And I think that we can insert not just climate change in that, we can insert how corporations continue to be in total control of our government into that space as well. We can insert the cultish-like nature of our politics, Sirota. And I know we don't have much time to talk about that, but that is something that you and I debate all the time. We're not necessarily debate, but we shake our heads about how politicians now have stands. I mean, you cannot critique any politician in this country, especially on the federal level, without their cult coming to their rescue. And for as much as people talk about President Trump having a cult-like following, and he does, neoliberals do too. And we have put politicians on a pedestal so much that it seems like they can do no wrong, number one, and number two, should not be critiqued for their job.
Right, and I think that's the problem of the political culture we live in. That's the dystopia. That the people who benefit the most from a partisan media that don't cover things in a nonpartisan way, the people who benefit are the people in power. That if you are a regulator who knows that if you don't regulate, your team's voters will simply cheer for you no matter what, then you don't have any pressure to really do the regulation you need to do. If Pete Buttigieg knows that Democratic attorneys general and Democratic lawmakers for months can beg him to do his job, offering specific steps that he can take to better regulate the airlines, and he knows he can ignore that, and if things go wrong, Democratic voters will nonetheless cheer for him, then he doesn't feel any pressure to actually change policy at all. He doesn't have to listen to my attorney general, Colorado's Phil Weiser. He doesn't have to listen to the 38 attorneys general who wrote to him. He doesn't have to listen to Senator Elizabeth Warren or Ro Khanna or Senator Bernie Sanders, who are telling him to put in place tougher penalties. He knows he can simply tweet through it. And that's the problem. Because ultimately, this isn't about a team. This is about actually getting better policy to make sure that corporations don't treat people so badly.
Yeah, that is. Ultimately, it should come down to what the people need and not some bureaucrat. David Sirota, such a delight to have you here on Unbossed. Cannot wait to have you back. I appreciate you so very much, and there are so many others who do too. Please keep doing what you are doing, and that is shaking things up.